This week on the Pressure Cast, Nintendo explains the NX's E3 no-show, a vodka company is making a VR game, and Twitch introduces microtransactions. It's Monday, July 4th, 2016. Everything happening in the world of video games is here, now, on the Pressure Cast. Hey, Pressure Pals. Welcome to the 137th episode of the Pressure Cast, VideoGamesAreDumb.com's weekly news panic that posts every single Monday on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, TuneIn Radio, Google Play Music, and America's longest-running independent newspaper at ShepherdExpress.com. My name is Colin Tanner, and I'm caffeinated and ready to ramble you about some gosh darn video games that are across from me, Steve Cuff.
Oh God, I'm feeling patriotic today, Colin.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think it's because Canada Day was on July 1st. That must be it.
Ah, that's true. Sweet land of maple. You know, we got a lot of news to get to this week. We got to talk about all the upcoming games in the hype train. We got to talk about all the legal business and financial news in the chart park. We got to talk about those mobile games in Pocket Talk and the people that disappointed us in Idiot of the Week, as well as taking your emails and voicemails, and thank you for the email. If you want to contact the show, remember, 954-947-7377 at PressureCastPod on Twitter and PressureCast@gmail.com. If you just want to send an email, please do so. We have a couple of emails we'll get to later in the show, but in case you've never listened to the show before, let's not judge anyone. Let the people do what they want with their lives. They didn't listen to the show yet. We're just going to introduce it for them. But we're going to be kind of, you know, a little uppity about it. In case you've never listened to the show before.
Who are you?
Each week, the Pressure Cast slices up the latest video game news, past, present, and future, and delivers it right into your ears in 2 hours or less through several sensational segments. And that's it. That was the introduction. Choo-choo-choo. Why does this always happen?
I don't know. There's always trains.
Right when I feel like I'm getting my mojo going, I just start hearing trains. Okay, I heard toots. Now I'm cool with it. That's right. It's time for the Hype Train. Feel the PR vibrations as we barrel towards Video Game Satisfaction Station on the Hype Train. This is the part of the show we talk about all those upcoming video games to get you hyped up to spend all your money and become a video game guru. We are starting it off with some Nintendo news because we don't have a whole bunch of Nintendo news this week. However, there is one story that is actually rather interesting. During a shareholders meeting in Japan, Shigeru Miyamoto was explaining why the NX didn't show up to E3. Now, we knew it wasn't going to be there in advance, but why? Why not? Here's what they said, or Miyamoto said. Normally, we would have shown the NX at E3, but we didn't. We're worried about imitators if we release info too early. We are also researching VR, so we have the core technology. Long play sessions are an issue. We want to release something that can be played for long periods, carries value, and is affordable. We want parents to feel at ease. That's kind of nice of them. I mean, the parents are already too busy. They're going to KFC to pick up dinner. They got a lot going on in their mind.
That's a strange plug for KFC.
Hey, they just keep sending me the checks. I keep mentioning them. But let's talk about this real quick. Now, when they released the Wii, way back when they announced the Wii, of course, later we saw Sony have their own version of motion controls in the 6-axis motion controller. Not to be confused with the Move controller. You could actually move the DualShock 3. I'm sorry, it wasn't the DualShock 3. It was the 6-axis because it didn't have vibration.
That's right.
But you could move it around, and they themselves admitted it was a very rushed project. So yes, they were ripping off Nintendo, and obviously the Move controllers. Those are obviously Wiimotes. Despite how long they've been working on that project, they wouldn't have taken the plunge had it not been for the success of the Wii. Do you really buy into this? That Nintendo has something that's so good, so amazing, we can't tell anybody about it because it's so good.
I don't know if it's because it's so good it's amazing, but I do think that they just want to keep their cards close to their vest, which makes a lot of sense because if you look past like 15 years or so.
Are you talking about AR cards real quick? Are we talking about looking at Donkey Kong on your desk through 3DS, you know, and from all angles?
I mean, I have no idea what they could possibly have up their sleeve, but if you go back to the Wii, when the Wii was announced, they actually announced the console and the controller separately.
Mm-hmm.
So what you ended up getting was, I mean, they showed off all this tech with the controller, and then immediately the clones started coming out. So especially if they're going to do something new and different in VR, or if they're going to do something that no other console is currently doing, then it does make sense to kind of keep closed-lipped about that. That makes sense to me. Also, I think VR is essential for them. That's something that's a space they have to be in.
Yep, yeah.
Just because everybody else is there. And it makes sense that if they have tech where they can do something that the other guys can't do, which extended play sessions, that's a problem with VR.
It can be. There are certainly games out there that people can play for long periods of time. It's not a huge deal. Headsets that are lighter and more comfortable.
Sure, but that's a major concern, and I think especially because of Nintendo's history with the Virtual Boy, which the biggest complaint, well, God, there's a million complaints you could lodge against the Virtual Boy, but one of the biggest complaints is you literally can't play the damn thing for more than 10 minutes without getting a headache.
And they never released the connection cable for multiplayer, which is a huge issue.
Yeah, because I know you wanted to play Teleboxer with all your friends.
And Waterworld, because they had up to 12 players available. Here's my thing. It honestly is starting to sound like they didn't do their book report. Like the teacher's like, oh, hey, where's that book report? Oh, it's so good. It's such a good book report. I just couldn't give it to you this week. Too good. Next week, let me tell you, I got a lot to say about Tom Sawyer. It's gonna blow your mind. There's something I don't know when they say, oh, it's so amazing. Not only will you like it, but other companies will be blown away and immediately duplicate it. I mean, really, how? Like, really, do they think that by showing off their console that suddenly the Xbox Scorpio is going to incorporate this feature?
Yeah, I mean, that's entirely possible. I think because they wanted these other guys to show off the PlayStation in 4K. They wanted Xbox to show off Scorpio. They wanted them to basically show their hands before Nintendo can. So not only does that put Nintendo in the position of, well, if they do have something great, then they automatically have a one-up, but they can look at what the competition is putting forward, and they can say to themselves, well, do we need to add this, that, or the other thing to the NX to make sure that it can really compete?
Well, if they are going to incorporate VR, or even augmented reality to a certain extent, they're going to need the horsepower. Like, maybe NX actually will be a real competitor to the Scorpio or the PlayStation 4K or PlayStation Neo. I'm so hopeful of that because I really feel that Nintendo is at its best when it is merging together creative ideas with the latest technology.
Like the GameCube?
Yes, in a way. Well, let's be real here. I mean, when you look at something like the Nintendo 64, well, okay, bad example. Look at the Super Nintendo. That is the best console Nintendo has ever put out. Maybe the NES. I would say it's up for grabs. But there's no competition between like the 64 and the SNES, the GameCube and the SNES, the Wii and the SNES, the Wii U and the SNES. No. It's obvious the SNES was the best Nintendo console they ever produced, and they kept advancing technology. They kept saying, well, how can we do something like Donkey Kong? All right, we're going to try and create these 3D models that we'll just take pictures of. Hey, how do we do something like Star Fox? Whoa, we can do this. We'll incorporate these chips. When they have the ambition of technology, they really go far and wide. Look at Mario 64. I mean, that's like the best example. And now, if they just come out with something that's less powerful than Xbox One, I'm concerned because they've already had enough trouble transitioning to the HD generation because of what they did with the Wii. They can't stay behind or else they'll be behind forever. They need to have that internal development focusing on the latest technology.
I think that, well, I don't know. I love the Super Nintendo, but I've always thought of it as kind of a conservative console because, I mean, you're at the dawn of like disc-based technology, and you have things like the 3DO coming out and stuff like that that are just really pushing the limits graphically of what a home console can do, and how 3DO was a colossal failure, but it sort of predicted the idea of your game console as like the center of your whole like media setup, basically. So I think in those terms, Super Nintendo was very conservative, but it was smart and it played to the right audience. And I also think historically, if you look at each console generation, horsepower does not dictate who sells the most systems.
We've covered this.
Yes, we've covered this.
Because this generation is different.
This generation is one of the rare exceptions. But that being said, I do think if they're really committed to courting third parties again, because we're in this era where a third party company wants to make one game and then release it on every platform without having to,
I
fool
just,
around with it too
yeah.
much. I think if that's what you want to do, if you want to get EA back on board, things like that, you need to have at least comparable horsepower to the current generation.
I think if you don't have the same games that everyone else has, that's not always a big deal. But if you don't have the biggest sellers of the year and the biggest franchises, why are you even in this space?
Yeah.
Where is Grand Theft Auto on Nintendo? Well, we got Chinatown Wars on the DS. If you don't have Grand Theft Auto on your system, that's a problem. You might be saying, why do you want Grand Theft Auto on your Nintendo console? I don't really care. But that says something. Where you're at, where the best-selling game just isn't available anywhere on your system.
And it's kind of a hassle, too, because I wish the Wii U was as powerful as my PS4, because then I would just own a Wii U. But guess what? It can't run a bunch of games that I want to play. So it's like it's a secondary console to my PS4 because I want to play new stuff that comes out, and that's not coming out on the Wii U.
Don't worry. Everyone's going to be making games for the NX because they have an idea that's so amazing, people would rip it off if they announced that at E3. Can't do that. Toot toot. So, we were talking about VR just a second ago. Let's talk about PlayStation VR. Earlier this week, they actually had the last available pre-orders for PlayStation VR go out. According to GameStop, they sold out within minutes, and there are no more units available for pre-order. That's it. It's over. You cannot pre-order a PlayStation VR headset. I mean, you could, but Sony is not backing that pre-order. Let's just be clear here. They will have more units available when the system launches this October. Was it October 13th? I can't quite remember. I am a little curious right here. Do you think that they are really that concerned about supply? Or are they trying to do what Nintendo did with the Wii and create a sort of artificial demand? You know, where a very exclusive and very passionate group of people have now acquired this headset, and that way they're kind of cutting out the people that will be like, yeah, whatever, I guess I'll pre-order it. It's available. They want the passionate people that are like, oh my god, 3 more days, 2 more days, oh my god. You know, they're going to be telling everybody because they're freaks.
I think it's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B.
Column A, column B, yeah.
Column A, column B. A big part of it is you estimate how many of these things you're going to need on day one. And obviously Sony's full of very smart people, but I think the PlayStation VR has really picked up steam in terms of just, you know, popularity and hype and things like that over the past couple months. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're probably gonna have more for the holiday season.
Right.
But I'm guessing their initial production order was based on projections that didn't reflect the current amount of hype for the PlayStation VR.
Well, we should point out real quick, we don't know how many pre-orders they even had.
Yeah, we don't know what that number is.
They've never announced that. So for all we know, they could have sold, I don't know, 250,000 of these. We don't know.
Yeah, we haven't.
They could have sold 1 million.
Absolutely no idea. There's no way to.
Probably not 1 million. That would be amazing. That would be they would be talking about that we sold 1 million headsets.
Definitely not 1 million.
I mean, I wonder just exactly what they expected to come out of this system or out of this headset, to the point where they just have cut off pre-orders, whether that's for artificial demand or whether they're concerned at this point where they have no idea how many they'll actually have extra for general retail releases.
Yeah, well, because one thing you don't want to do. So if you look at the Wii, there was just like
just look at it.
Just look at it. It's a white box.
It's amazing.
There was a lot of hype around it, and obviously they were able to create that artificial demand because they're Nintendo, and that's what they like to do. For years.
Yeah, I don't think we can't stress this enough. For like 2 years, you were like, "Oh my god, I just found a Wii. Do you want me to buy it for you?" Like,
yeah,
that was
crazy.
Actually happening.
Actually crazy, yeah. So then the Wii U comes out, and you have the exact opposite, where it's like, okay, well, the first day there's people waiting in line, and they got theirs, and then after that, they just sort of sat on the shelves. So one thing Sony doesn't want is they don't want to overestimate and then just have stock sitting there on the shelves. Here's this expensive piece of boutique technology, and it's just sitting there.
I mean, look at what happened with the PlayStation 4 camera. Do you remember that? Where people were hunting for that PlayStation 4 camera. It sounds like a joke now because you can get it everywhere. But because it just wasn't readily available, so many forum posts being like, hey, if you see any PlayStation 4 cameras, oh, hey, here's brickseeker.com. I shouldn't have said that because now you're going to go there. That's my website. You don't touch that. And like, oh, well, you can search everywhere by the SKU number. Just for this camera, now it's everywhere. No one cares. You know? You could even say the same thing about the Wii. Once it was readily available, that's when games stopped selling. That's when systems stopped selling. True story. Okay.
Yep.
Well, are you going to get a PlayStation VR?
No.
Okay. Toot toot.
The Daddy Warbucks over here? I don't got that kind of cash.
Sony and PlayStation 4 are definitely getting VR. but they might not be getting the Fallout 4 mods quite as fast as we hoped.
Uh-oh.
Bethesda has announced that the beta for the PlayStation 4 mod support has been delayed. According to Bethesda, we regret to say that the PlayStation 4 mod beta for Fallout 4 has been delayed. We will update everyone when we can. What? I just want to point this out real quick. How many developers have gone on record, maybe not disparaging the Xbox One, but saying that the PlayStation 4 is very easy to develop for?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone said this. When you look at Fallout 4 on the Xbox One, it performs better than the PlayStation 4 version, even in the DLC they just released. Why does Bethesda, and just mainline Bethesda, not id with Wolfenstein or with Doom, why does just mainline Bethesda have such an issue with the PlayStation 4? It's more powerful than the Xbox One. Like, what is that issue?
I don't know. Maybe they're just more comfortable with the architecture.
They're both x86.
How similar is the 360 to the Xbox One in terms of design and architecture?
Well, they were both x86 architecture.
Okay, because this is it's weird because during the last console generation, Bethesda games ran better on the Xbox 360. So
no, well, yeah, but that was because of the cell architecture of the PlayStation 3, which was very difficult. And we have a story that we're not going to be covering this week where the dude from Gran Turismo, the director of Gran Turismo, just was like, that system was hell to develop for. Whereas people like Naughty Dog were like, this is easy. We'll make The Last of Us. But I'm just so confused because the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, we've never seen two consoles more similar. Like, nearly identical outside of very particular specs and obviously... a proprietary chipset, not hardware itself, but chipset, and yet we're having this major issue where, oh boy, yeah, the game doesn't run, and we even have to delay a beta. That I don't know. Very
strange.
Very confusing to me. Toot toot. Well, let's talk about another PlayStation 4 exclusive and its DLC, Street Fighter 5. Yeah, that's an exclusive, but
who's that sexy grandpa in like a loincloth?
What?
I kept seeing there was this thing. It was like on Twitter. It was basically a meme, but it was some Street Fighter 5 character, and it was just like this sexy older man with like rippling muscles everywhere, and he was just wearing like this white loincloth with like a dong outline. I
would have to look, but that might be Ken and Ryu's teacher. I forget his name, but he was introduced in Street Fighter 4. I mean, there's also some other people. There's that one-armed guy that wore a loincloth, and he's from Street Fighter 3.
I don't know. I can't tell. It's either one of the new characters or it was one of the new characters they scrapped.
I have no idea. However, we do have at least two new characters that are out right now. They were released earlier this week. Balrog, the boxer, who, of course, is known as M. Bison over in Japan. And M. Bison is known as Vega, and Vega is known as Balrog. That's true. They had to switch all the names around. But Balrog, one of my favorite characters in Street Fighter, all about that fight money. And they even remade his stage. Seriously, go look up the trailer. Like, it is the classic Las Vegas stage, except they have, like, pyro going off in the background. It is gorgeous. They also, of course, have Ibuki, who was supposed to be out in June. July 1st, not quite June. And the story mode was released earlier this week. My question to you, and to you listeners at home, should this just go free-to-play? Should they just go free-to-play with this game? Have a boxed version for people that want all the characters, that's fine. But maybe you get yourself a, Ken and, I don't know, Charlie, and then all the other characters you have to piecemeal purchase just to get people to try the damn game. Because I really believe it. Once you try it,
so
you'll adore it.
You think they should adopt like a Killer Instinct model?
Yes. Because look, Killer Instinct is still going on. It's like it's in its third season right now.
Well, if I can put on my disgusting marketing man hat.
What is the hat dirty or is the marketing man dirty? Or
just both.
Okay.
If I'm going to pick a home console genre to exploit mercilessly, a la mobile games with shitty microtransactions.
What kind of games there?
Shitty mobile games.
You said mobile.
Mobile.
I thought it was so.
It's going to be a fighting game.
Yeah,
because it's so easy. The framework is already in place. It's like, okay, you got all these characters.
It was built in the arcades.
Yeah, it was. I mean, but it's basically like those games are built to be nickel and dime. So if you're going to be a horrible person, that's the place to do it.
Quartered, not nickel and dimed. It was a quarter back in the day. Usually 50 cents, especially if you had some really dope stuff.
You're mixing my metaphors, bro.
Yeah, if you saw a 75-cent fighting game, it had better be in 3D. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to spend 75 cents to play Primal Rage. Get the hell out of here. I mean, I really wish they would make this game free to play because I swear, if you just spent a couple of hours with that game, it would blow your mind. It is one of the best games of the year. It is arguably the best Street Fighter ever in terms of just a fighting system, and no one's playing it because they went, oh, wow, that doesn't look fun. And it's like, yeah, nothing looks fun. You have to play. Depressing me, Capcom. I wonder if they're kicking themselves for going exclusive with Sony, even though Sony helped fund the project. It really makes you wonder.
I don't know.
Because more people buy games on Xbox One. That's the thing. It has a very good attach rate, even if they might not love fighting games. You know? Anyway, toot toot. Let's close out the PlayStation section by talking about this month's PlayStation Plus free games.
Yay.
On the PlayStation 4, Saints Row: Get Out of Hell.
Oh boy.
Not the best Saints Row there.
No, nothing like a standalone
DLC.
Yeah, that's great.
Actually, I played that DLC and it was I thought it was bad. I thought it was actually just bad because you're in hell, right? And so you blow up cars and stuff and you're fighting demons. What's wrong with that, right? It so misses the mark on why Saints Row is a success. It's not. You ever heard of the rules of flexible and inflexible, like comedy, where if you're gonna have a flexible world, you have to have an inflexible character. You know, like George W. Bush going to Woodstock, or you can have a flexible character in an inflexible world. You know, SpongeBob going to the library, stuff like that. By taking place in hell, you've got a flexible world and a flexible character, so none of it works. It's just everybody's funny, so none of it is. You know, straight man, funny man. Not a good. I didn't like it. Besides, everything's ugly because it has to be in hell. It'd be funny if you were in heaven. How funny would that be? You're in heaven. You're blowing up heaven. Oh, my God.
That probably would have been more fun.
They have a game called Furry that's going to be out. F-U-R-I. Don't get any ideas, you
Fury,
sickos.
not furry.
It's furry.
It's
Why not? Why can't? Why?
Because there's not two R's?
Why you hating on my pronunciation, bro? On the PlayStation 3, Call of Juarez Bound in Blood, which apparently is one of the good Call of Juarez games.
Yeah, I've heard lots of good things about that, actually.
Not to be confused with that Gunslinger game, which apparently is fantastic. I never got around to. Fat Princess, 2009 called.
Jesus.
It's a good game.
It is, but oh my God, that's old.
It's basically like a MOBA, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because you have to collect the Fat Princess, who was a very svelte princess initially, but unfortunately the bad guys fed her a lot of cake. So now it's difficult to carry her back. Now we get to the really good stuff. PlayStation Vita fans, you are getting the best games for PlayStation Plus this month, or at least one of them.
Oh boy, what am I getting?
Ori Shika Tainted Bloodlines.
What the fuck is that?
This is a JRPG, stay with me here, that's very influenced by the watercolor art styles of the 17 and 1800s, and even prior works like, you know, The Fisherman's Wife and The Wave. And this is a JRPG that doesn't have, you know, it's not the most mind-blowing mechanics, but it's so pretty. So pretty. I'm talking about, like, it takes place like a play. Like, imagine, Paper Mario, where it's all on a stage. I'm talking about, like, you know, when you do a fire attack, the fire looks like paper. You know, and all the effects look like they were handcrafted for a stage back in the 1800s.
Who made this?
It was Cliff Bleszinski. In his room.
Cliffy B. No, but I mean, it's not a Squaresoft game, obviously.
He was looking at his wall scrolls and going, yeah, man.
So it's not like Xseed or Atlas or something like that?
I can't remember. But it was only available digitally, and it was $20, and it was one of the biggest hidden gems. I mentioned it in the Best of the Year show, which, you know, considering how prestigious of an honor that is. I think
it's pretty big. Pressure cast, no?
What? What are you going to say, Steve? I don't think you
No, actually, you have me sold on this. I'm actually going to download and play a JRPG, which is, God, you're moving mountains.
Can't tell if you're just amusing me or not.
No, seriously, I am gonna check it out.
I think just for the graphics alone.
Yeah.
And
if I hate it, I'm going to talk shit to you next week.
It's just such a cool game. I love it. Also, lastly, for the PlayStation Plus games, on the Vita, Prince of Persia Revelation.
The fuck is that?
Well, it came out in 2010 for the fucking PSP, Sony.
Jesus.
And it is a remake of Warrior Within.
I don't want to play that one.
The worst in the Prince of Persia 6th Generation trilogy. So way to go there. Warrior Within, of course, was the sequel to the incredible Sands of Time that introduced Butt Rock. Yeah, I know. No one's happy about it, man. Toot toot. Let's go over to the Xbox One, because they, of course, have their own games with gold. This month, I think, says a lot about what they're doing. Of course, The Crew is still available until July 15th on the Xbox One.
Have fun with that.
Tumblestone, a puzzle game, will be available from July 16th to August 15th. I'm a big fan of putting puzzle games in the PlayStation Plus and games with gold, because those are things you can just pick up and play whenever. It's that stuff that kind of rounds out your catalog. We're like, oh, I just got blown up in Call of Duty. I'm tired of playing this. I'll just, goof off with this game, which is why I like that Mousecraft game so much. Highly recommend that. It's so good.
I got it.
You got that? Oh, did you play it yet?
Yeah, it's good. I like it.
I love that game. It's Tetris meets Lemmings. So good.
Better than fucking Borderlands on the Vita.
Okay. Throwing some shade at Gearbox?
Throwing mad shade.
The Banner Saga 2 is now free on Xbox One.
Oh, I'm jealous. I want that.
That's a brand new game. Sequel to an interesting... I wasn't the biggest fan of the first Banner Saga. I thought it was interesting, though, but a real-time RPG, or a strategy RPG. But the sequel now available. A brand new game. Really think about that. I think that shows a shift in the direction of games with gold, that they might actually try to acquire or attract independent developers to release their games for free. They obviously have more money than Sony to pay some of these people off, which is not a bad thing. When people hear pay them off, they always think it's the worst thing ever. But, on the Xbox 360, of course, you can get Rainbow Six Vegas 2.
Yay.
Backwards compatible on Xbox One. And Tron Evolution from the 16th to the 31st.
What?
Just go with it, man.
Okay, I'll go with it. Yeah, Tron.
Yeah.
Is it better than Tron Deadly Discs on the Intellivision? Because that game rocks ass.
I don't... you know what? I was going to say yes, but you said Deadly Discs. I thought you were going to say Tron the arcade game, which is not that good.
No, it's okay. There's parts of Tron the arcade game that are cool. I like the motorbike part. But Tron Deadly Discs on the Intellivision, that is some straight up awesome shit. You got to play that.
That's top tier in television.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it always sucks when you get those Intellivision Lives collections. It can't have it in there.
Also, hot take, it's actually better on an emulator because the Intellivision controller is hot garbage.
Oh, no. Hot take. The Intellivision controller is garbage. That is...
Hot take. Slate.com published that one.
Hot take. The original Xbox was big. I don't know what... Toot toot. Speaking of Xbox, they have announced they are shutting down their fitness program known as Xbox Fitness.
Oh, gee willikers.
Well, maybe you'll actually feel a little bit more impassioned by these following paragraphs from Microsoft themselves. On December 15th, 2016, we'll be removing our free with gold offer. Until then, gold members will be able to access and play over 30 workouts available for streaming as part of this offer for free. Really, you're paying for it because it's part of
I know, it's part of Xbox Gold, yeah.
On July 1st, 2017, 1 year from now, Xbox Fitness and all associated content will no longer be available for download or play. This includes content you've purchased.
That's shitty.
Now, that is where, who cares about Xbox Fitness? That's crossing the line right there.
Mm-hmm. But you can do it with a little fitness program that no one gives a shit about because no one's going to really complain.
Hey, that's exactly my first thought right there.
But yeah, that's your daily reminder that when you buy things digitally, you're not actually purchasing anything. You're just purchasing the right to play it. You're basically paying $60 to rent something.
It is an indefinite lease that can be revoked in an instant from publisher, developer, and platform holder, which I find this immensely troubling. Because if they're doing that with the Xbox Fitness, no one cares about that.
Yeah, here's your test balloon for when they bone you on something you do care about.
I mean, obviously these games will be around. These experiences are being saved elsewhere. But this deeply worries me that somehow, maybe there's some weird independent game creator out there making these weird games that no one's going to notice. The hypothetical situation, I understand. But then, maybe they get hit by a car at age 36, and then years later we discover how great they were, and we just don't have those games. Because they don't legally have the right to hang on to them, and the publisher doesn't bother. I get worried about preservation, even if it's just Xbox Fitness. 60 years from now, when they're like, wow, this is like a real precursor to the fitness programs we have today because it was using a Kinect, and that's really how we do all these ideas.
And honestly, there's no excuse for it either, because if you look at other mediums, whether it's film, television, or radio, they all had the same issue when they were still relatively young mediums, and eventually they learned the importance of archiving and preservation and whatnot. But still, if you go back, finding old radio recordings, basically impossible. Television, Jesus Christ, for years, they would use just digital tape and they would re-record over everything. They didn't save anything.
We're missing 90% of the original movies.
90%.
90%. Not even exaggerating. Silent film, 90% of it is missing.
And I mean, we are currently living in an era where, you know, digital games, even little things like this Xbox Fitness thing, they can just be taken away and Lord knows where they go. Or, my God, do you remember when they were doing the Silent Hill remake and people were like,
wow.
why does this look like shit?
Oh,
and they're like, oh, we had to redo it because we literally lost the original files.
Yeah, the source code gone.
Like, how?
And I'm just saying, now, maybe these companies are taking care of it, but when it comes to preservation, hobbyists are traditionally better. And they become legitimized far later. Like, back in the movie age, they're like, hey, you can't hold on to these movies or we'll sue you. That's the property of our studio, even if we just plan to burn the movies, you know.
Yeah.
Or look at Doctor Who. Even though I'm not a Doctor Who fan, they've lost so many episodes of that show because they just wiped them and re-recorded over them, which is sadly what happened to most of my old Simpsons tapes.
That's why I always say this, but video games need their own Criterion collection. Like, seriously.
Will you actually support it when it happens, though?
Oh, 110%. Absolutely. I mean, that's, like, I'm a big, like, Blu-ray collector, too. And, like, Criterion and Arrow and Synapse and all these small boutique companies.
The Flash, yeah.
Yeah, so... But if you look at movies, at least now companies are getting better at holding on to things and not just being like, oh, fuck it, throw this in the trash bin. But then they just sit on them forever. So I think video games need to get to the point where, okay, we're going to save these things, but we're not doing anything with them. Let's license them to companies who care and can, you know, provide supplemental things.
I understand the concept of digital hoarding, but if we're not going to use the tools available to record the creations of our species, what the hell are we doing this for? Like, what are we doing this for? You know, why make anything?
Oh, to make money, it's a business.
Okay. Speaking of business, toot toot, there's more backwards compatible games coming to the Xbox One, including Steve's favorites, Bloodforge, Mars Warlogs, Grip Shift, and Go Go Break Steady.
I literally don't know what any of those are.
I don't know what any of those are either.
What does that say when I would say you and I dedicate ourselves more than the average person to the pursuit of video game knowledge in one way?
I'm glad you
or
said
another.
knowledge, because you said video game. I'd have to disagree.
Yeah.
There are people out there still playing World of Warcraft.
Pursuit of video game knowledge. And yet, we do not know what these things are.
They're probably just Xbox Live games. However, they did mention that over 100 million hours combined has been spent playing backwards compatible Xbox 360 games on Xbox One.
Yeah, because they're all playing New Vegas. They're not playing Grip Shit or whatever that game was called.
I just think it's worth pointing out, you know, that shows that this program has been very successful, at least in retaining an audience to some degree, because 100 million hours, you know, give how many owners there are, you know, 20 million, just to be fair. So that's like, well, I don't know, 5 hours each. That's pretty good, you know?
Which is why the Nintendo NX is going to be a fully backwards compatible streaming box.
Oh, man.
$99.
Good luck. Toot toot. So, they have announced BioShock The Collection coming to the PlayStation 4, coming to Xbox One, and coming to, what is it, PC as a free update. It's going to be 1080p up to 60 frames per second. Don't know what that means. Up to? Okay. Of course, it's going to include BioShock 1, BioShock 2, BioShock Infinite, all the DLC that came with them, including, I believe this will be the first time Minerva's Den will appear outside of, actually on a Sony platform, which was, of course, the...
Actually, I think it's on the PS3 collection that already exists.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I was under the impression it was only on PC and 360. I might be wrong.
I could be wrong, too, but I'm pretty sure, because I own the PS3 collection with BioShock 1 and 2.
And it will include a director's commentary from Ken Levine and Sean Robertson, but it will not include the BioShock 2 multiplayer. It sounds like a Criterion collection to me.
That's a step in the right direction.
I mean, they have a director's commentary. Steve, will you buy this?
I don't know.
What?
Okay, this is not a Criterion collection.
I can't hear you from your high horse.
I'm on my high horse, but this is not a Criterion collection. I'm not going to buy it just because I already own the BioShock collection and BioShock Infinite. There's no reason for me to buy this.
Oh, okay. They made a Criterion collection. They include that director's commentary.
No. You don't understand. The point of Arrow and Criterion and all these companies is they release things that are long out of print and not available.
You cannot get BioShock anywhere.
Anywhere,
Kids don't even know what that
ever.
is.
No, kids, they have no clue. I can buy all these
Do you
things.
listen to hip hop? Do you hear anyone talking about Bioshock? I don't.
So, yeah, the point of preservation and archival boutique labels releasing old things is these are things that you can't get. Now you can get them. But I will say I do like that this is just an optimized version of each of these games. It's not a total HD remake. 'Cause I think that's kind of shitty. Like, I like the idea of games being available for more people, but I don't think that, you should just HD remake everything from the ground up.
I like it when they did with. I like what they did with the Halo Master Chief Collection, where you press select and you can see the old graphics.
Mhm.
I think that's very
Yeah,
good.
they did that with this is kind of weird and niche, but like 4 or 5 years ago, they put out an updated version of Tecmo Bowl.
Oh wow!
Super Bowl.
I did not remember.
Yeah,
that,
it's
no.
super fun, but you can play with modern graphics, or if at the press of a button, it just shifts in real time to the old graphics. It's super cool.
I just played Adventures of Mana on the PS Vita, and they let you switch between the original soundtrack and a remastered version, like on the
that's cool.
fly, which is like chiptunes or orchestra. It's pretty cool.
Also, real talk with that Tecmo Bowl game, I am pissed that it didn't really get all that popular because it had online play, which was super fun.
I remember they had a really good version of it for the DS, if I'm not mistaken. That also came out around then. Either way, toot toot. Well, we now know that Bioshock, the collection, will be available September 16th. However, Batman Return to Arkham, we don't know when that's coming out anymore because Warner Brothers has announced, after reviewing the progress of the project, the team at Warner Brothers Games has decided to delay the release of Batman Return to Arkham to give the team at Virtuous Games, the people that worked on things like Heavy Rain, HD, and some other projects, additional time to deliver a polished Batman Arkham game experience. We do not have a release date, and we will be sure to communicate that once we are sure the game will be ready. We know this is disappointing news, but we feel the extra time will allow the team to create the best experience for our fans. The games are literally 5 years old.
And these are ground up remakes, or are they just up-resing?
They said they were doing some shit to the graphics.
Okay, see, and this is again,
the trailer was awful. Like the trailer, they blew out all the light, and so you could see everything. In case you don't know, Batman is based off of pulp comics. That's why it was dark in the first place.
Yeah, well, and again, this is a great example of what I'm talking about when I say I like when games are, this game from the PS2 era, it now runs in 1080p, but it's the same game. Like, that's cool. That's fine. I can play it on my PS3, my PS4. That's fine. But when you do these ground-up remakes, it becomes like, I don't know, ahistorical. You're basically rewriting what the game is. And you also run into this bullshit technical stuff. So then you get Silent Hill 2 with no fog and Arkham that can't run and with shit tons of bloom lighting.
Do you think this is a serious question, though. Do you think that they just looked at that collection, looked at the price, and said, we can't do this? Like, we just can't release both these games for $60. Maybe Arkham Knight sales are slowing down. Maybe Arkham...
Were they ever that fast to begin with?
I mean, there's only 3 Arkham games. If there was a hypothetical fourth, I suppose they could include that, but that's an alternative.
Don't forget Origins.
There would have to be a game called that to be included, hypothetically. Maybe they're just looking at it and saying, no, you know what, this is a mistake. We shouldn't do this because we could sell an Ultimate Collection next year, and include a statue and charge you $100 or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, toot toot. So, Tristan Redford. He had a picture that he posted recently.
Of his penis?
Well, he was trying to show people how to use Destination Workshop tools. Because it's not a very easy thing to, use. It's a program that helps a lot of people. And one of his folders was listed as Left 4 Dead 3. Why does this matter? Because he's a Valve employee. The photo was immediately taken down. Someone actually screen capped it and then reposted without that folder. Left 4 Dead 3 has been commented on in the past by many people. Not only rumored, but also the dude who helped start Counter-Strike. He was like, oh, that looks really good. So is Half-Life 3. Like in an interview, like really casually talking about it, like 2 years ago. Left 4 Dead 3. It's going to happen. There's no reason to even dispute this.
Sure.
Did you play a whole lot of the other ones?
Yeah, I played a lot of the original, actually.
The original's the best.
A lot of the original. Yeah, I played a little bit of the second one. I didn't really get into it, and it's one of those things where I couldn't tell if it was because I didn't like it as much or if I just wasn't in the headspace to, play it, or if it just wasn't as good. But the original Left 4 Dead, I played a ton of.
On PC, if you have both games, you can play Left 4 Dead 1 with the mechanics of 2, so you have the same monsters from Part 2 and also like the melee weapons.
That's cool.
That is the best way to play that game. What is Left 4 Dead 3 in 2016, though? Is it still just 4 players, trying to get through a stage, or maybe 4 players and 4 monsters, in the exact same scenario?
Mm-hmm.
Does it have to add some new gameplay mechanics that kind of borrow from MOBAs? I know you're probably sick of hearing about that, but like, we're all standing around this, I don't know, cart that's slowly moving up so we can turn on the lights so we can escape through the door. Something like that.
I don't know. I guess my plan would be evolve but fun.
Okay, smartass.
I really don't know. It's hard for me to really, because I like the purity and the simplicity of Left 4 Dead.
As do I.
Like
very much.
It's so easy. It's just okay. Point A to point B. Don't die.
It's so easy to roleplay when you're playing as a monster or a survivor. Like you really get that feeling of kind of like, that's right, you can't see me, and a pounce.
I think a big part of it, because this is the coolest thing for me, is like the little dynamic elements to the environments. I think the more of that you can incorporate, the better, because it really opens up the door for people to do creative things with how they get from point A to point B.
I wonder how they're going to address the monsters, though, because the way that they function currently is that you're a pouncer, so you pounce on them and you attack them, and then you can do nothing. You're just standing there attacking them.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they address that at all. I don't have a big issue with it, but I'm sure there's an opportunity they're not thinking of.
Sure.
Like perhaps there's a monster pairing, where one has to guard the other one while they're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I
think, like support monster characters, I think that'd be cool.
There's nothing better than playing as a tank at the very final stage of No Mercy, right when they're running for that helicopter, and you just charge, grab them, and run off that building. No Mercy is one of the entire 5-chapter campaign is one of the best things ever in video games. Just pitch fucking perfect.
Mm-hmm. Ton of fun.
Anyway, toot toot. Road Rash. Remember Road Rash? Electronic Arts' amazing motorcycle combat game from the early 90s that was pretty much exclusive to the Genesis before we're going multi-platform with the 3DO, PlayStation, and Nintendo 64, and then just dying a terrible death, and we never saw it again. Then there were rumors that Criterion was actually making a Road Rash game before it got canceled. Those were the people behind Burnout. Well, good news. Road Redemption, an independent Kickstarter title that it features Shovel Knight, because this has been in production for a long time. You can play as Shovel Knight. Will be out on the PC on October 15th and the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One on January 15th. Yes?
Have you had a chance to play the demo or watch any footage of it?
I watched footage. It looks pretty okay.
Yeah, it looks all right. I'm wondering, now I haven't checked in on this game in probably over a year.
Same here. Yeah.
But when I saw it like a year ago, it was odd.
Mm-hmm.
So the levels were like procedurally generated?
No, thank you.
And then it was like you had to like level up your character, so it was like
that's not so bad.
It was like motorcycle MMO. I don't know. It was a little bit odd, and it looked a little generic and bland to me.
Yeah, they don't have the best art style in that game.
No, but it's got a good pedigree. At the very least, it's got my interest.
Is there a market for car combat games that's being ignored right now? I mean, you hear people say, oh man, I love Vigilante 8, which obviously is not a good game, so if they like Vigilante 8, they're going to be blown away by better car combat.
It's all about Vigilante 8 Second Offense and Rogue Trip.
You mean Second Offense, the one that Rogue Trip is amazing, you brought that up. That's a single-track game. Never mind, we're not even going to get into that, but too many factoids here, but you can actually go into HD, like 720p, on the Nintendo 64 with Second Offense, which is bonkers.
Yeah, it runs like dog shit, but yeah, you can. And it looks good on the Dreamcast. Like, I actually played through the Dreamcast version maybe 3 years ago, and it's still very, very playable. I will say this. There is a market for car combat games, but developers haven't figured out a way to either reboot car combat for the modern player or kind of tap into what made the original games great. It looks like hot garbage, but if you go back and you play Twisted Metal 2, it's still a shitload of fun. It's still got this intensity. And the thing that I love the most about Twisted Metal 2 is the AI is so ruthless and weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, because I think there's a lot of like people try to make games where it's just like, oh my god, the AI is just like playing against a real person. Where in Twisted Metal, it's just like, no, this is an evil possessed machine.
It's like the GoldenEye Perfect Dark bot.
Yeah,
you know?
where it's like this terrifying thing that you are completely conscious is a machine coming at you. I don't know. They just haven't been able to recapture it. I know. Didn't you say you liked the Twisted Metal reboot
on PlayStation 3? It's a very good game.
Okay,
I can understand.
Hated it.
I understand. Here's my thing though. When it comes to car combat, I wonder if there's just like they just haven't tapped into the potential of merging racing and combat. Full Auto, fun game on the 360. Carmageddon, which is coming out this Tuesday. Spoiler alert. I would love to. Can you imagine if they released another Jet Moto on PlayStation 4 with realistic graphics? You know, maybe we're just not embracing this extreme racer enough. You know, I feel like racing fans are either very sim heavy or they're playing Trackmania. They haven't found that middle ground in a very long time.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really interested in like racing car combat, but I think the idea of a car combat game that has the amount of love and thought of like an Overwatch put into it. If you think about it, Overwatch essentially is the contemporary Twisted Metal. That's your analog. You have these very distinct characters who they all have very specific abilities, and that's what you do.
Well, you drive down that path. I ain't going there.
You're not going down that path?
We should move on anyway. We're running along. A toot toot. Deadmau5 and Absolute Vodka are working together to create Absolute Deadmau5.
That sounds horrible.
It's going to be coming to Google Cardboard and possibly that Oculus Gear VR. This is real. This is actually happening. Deadmau5 is working with Absolute.
Oh God, this is the next big thing.
Advertisers are going to be introducing all sorts of things into VR.
This is all the people who wear fancy suits in the office I work in. This is all they talk about. I was at South by Southwest, and VR is like, that's the future. It's VR, VR, VR. Every single person, every single advertising agency is just jerking off thinking about VR.
There's honestly no advertising that's going to be any good in VR, except with the possibility of things like Kentucky Fried Chicken and maybe some others.
This is what you're going to get a lot of. You're going to get a lot of the, those YouTube videos where you can rotate 360 degrees.
I love those.
Okay. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get 360-degree advertisements.
Someone made a tunnel that has every single Simpsons episode playing all at once. It's amazing. You can just look down this. Oh, my God. It's incredible. All right. Well, let's just move on. Real quick, though. Tobacco companies. How do they get involved with VR?
I don't think they do.
I think they do.
There's too many restrictions on tobacco.
Marlboro made a game for the Atari Lynx, so anything's possible.
Yeah, I think the last bastion for tobacco advertising is like old school. Like I think they can only do print ads and billboards.
I don't know. That lady seems to be laughing a lot. Newports might be fun. Toot toot. Our final story, Final Fantasy VII Monopoly is a thing. It's real. They're making a Monopoly game based around the seminal 1997 classic from Squaresoft. According to the press release, trade with your fellow players to secure key locations and facilities and watch as savvy buyers secure a big payday. Just watch out in case Shinra bring your empire crashing down. Oh, there's a typo in your press release. I just wanted to, can you imagine going back in time, grabbing your 1997 self and being like, hey, you like this game? They're going to make Monopoly out of it. Could you imagine that?
Jay, you like this game? Good, because that's all you're going to hear about for the next 25 fucking years.
In case you have never played Final Fantasy VII, I know there's a remake, and we're actually coming around to the point where I feel like I can't spoil the game anymore, but there's a death of a very important character in that game.
Oh, you can talk about that.
No. There's a remake coming out, and I believe there's some people that just don't know.
Can I spoil it then?
No, we got to be nice listeners and viewers.
If you haven't played Final Fantasy and you don't know the spoiler that we're talking about, go fuck yourself.
Do you think you have to stop the? Do you think you have to stop the board game for a while, and then someone else has to take over for you?
Oh, Jesus.
Okay. Toot toot. Here are the games coming out this week. I don't actually think I have a real list.
No games.
No, there's games. I don't think I have the full list this week. Carmageddon I know is coming out, as is Lost Sea, a procedurally generated 3D ocean thing.
That's a fun game.
Well, good. Steve likes it. Go get that. That's going to be available on the Xbox One, PC, and PlayStation 4. Romance of the Three Kingdoms 13. Well, come on. They like it in Japan. The otakus dig it over here.
Yo, if you like boring maps. Go get some Romance of Three Kingdoms.
It's lust, it's luster, but there was a time and a place where that series was very important. And you know what? We're entering an era where there are older players, and they probably very much like the slow-paced, methodical
Yeah, and they're
approach.
playing Europa on their PCs. They're not fucking playing.
Yeah, all right, fine. That's and Hawken is officially being released on the PlayStation 4 and PC. That's been in development for forever. Didn't that already? I think that it might have even come out at one point, and then it got pulled back in.
Yeah, that's not gonna be fun. Are you gonna do a video on that one?
Nah, I'm busy.
I got things to do.
Yeah, I got things I want to get done. I don't know what I'm doing this week. This is like the scary point where I'm like, I don't know what I can review. Like, is this gonna take too long for me to review and blah 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 blah. I don't know. Anyway. Beep, beep. That's gonna do it for the hype train. Steve, what do you say we take a break? We come back and we talk about all the legal business and financial news in the chart park, and then from there we can talk about Pocket Talk, Idiot of the Week, Strong History, and read your emails.
That sounds fantastic, Colin. I'd love that.
I was telling the audience your emails, not your emails, Steve.
We'll
never address
soon,
those on air.
We'll come back as soon as we finish a round of Final Fantasy Monopoly. See you in 6 years.
Okay. Stay tuned after this. That's right. It's time for the break. Once again, to remind you to go to iTunes and give the Pressure Cast 5 stars and a written review, because recommendations are the best way for other people to decide whether or not they're going to listen to something. Okay, that was sort of clumsy right there. Please don't incorporate this break into your review, but please do go review the show. I mean, seriously, listenership is on the rise. We have not been getting reviews for a while, yet more people are listening. I know you're listening. Go to iTunes, give the Pressure Cast 5 stars and a written review, but I don't have an iTunes account. That's fine. Just say, hey, do you have an iPhone? Yeah. Can I borrow that for a second? Pressure Cast 5 stars and a written review. There you go very much. All right, thank you. I don't care. Do it however you want. I want more reviews. But, of course, we're no hypocrites. I'm not going to just say, recommend us, without recommending something to you. And this is kind of bogus right here, because I'm recommending a YouTube page that has 1 million subscribers this week.
Yeah.
But I didn't hear about them until recently. But it's called Wisecrack. And it's essentially a YouTube page that's all about pulp culture, but they like to break down everything through philosophy and science, you know, but not in that sort of way like, how would you actually power the Enterprise? But actually things like, hey, let's look at Kanye West and what is his philosophy? Where does he get this idea of, like, I'm the greatest and stuff? Where are the roots of that? And they actually teach you a lot about history and philosophy. They had another episode that was incredible about Rick and Morty, 17-minute long episode about Rick and Morty, just saying, like, what is this show actually saying about society and life and existence in general? And the best part of all, it's not bullshit. You know, they're not weaseling in things that don't have anything to do with it. It's like, oh, we're just going to recommend Nietzsche again for no reason when they're talking about Winnie the Pooh or some bullshit. Although I guess actually you could probably do that. Nietzsche goes with everything, right?
God is dead.
Yeah. They actually talk a lot about Nietzsche, though, in that Rick and Morty one. But that's because Rick and Morty references Nietzsche constantly. So if you really like pulp culture stuff like Rick and Morty or Kanye West or pretty much anything, and you want to, like, I don't know, have some smart content alongside that, Wisecrack on YouTube, really good. They got over 1 million subscribers. I hope they get even bigger because they're producing fantastic stuff. They also have a series of movie reviews that are done by an alien trying to explain why humans like this and what does this mean. It's, I don't know. You gotta check it out.
Sounds like for fans of game theory or extra credits if you want to broaden your pop culture palette.
I would say that it's a lot tighter than either of those.
Okay.
Even though
what about fans of optimismvaccine.com? Because that kind of sounds like what we do.
I've never even heard of that website.
I don't know, it's pretty good.
Oh, well, maybe one day I'll look into it. But check go to iTunes and give the Pressure Cast 5 stars and a written review, and I will see you later. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Whew, it's getting muggy in here. It's hot. I want to get a little bit of a tan. Get a little tanner, if you know what I'm saying. Which means we should step outside. Get some fresh air. Allow you to smoke those drugs out there, and I don't have to get a secondhand high. I'm high on life, Teach. That's right.
I'm high on PCP, baby.
That's right. It's time for... The Chart Park. The land where money grows on trees. Yes, the Chart Park. This is the part of the show we talk about the legal, business, and financial news in the video game industry. And we find out which fat cats of Wall Street will tip their top hats towards Lady Luck. We've got to start off with, once again, Nintendo news. Because, like I said, we don't have a whole lot of Nintendo news. Might as well get them out of the way. During that shareholders meeting, it was commented on, and we don't have a direct quote. I'm not sure exactly where this came from, but it's been reported from enough sites, sources, and reputable Twitter accounts. And when I mean reputable Twitter accounts, I mean people that actually follow the business industry, saying that according to Nintendo, they need to sell 2 million copies of Zelda Breath of the Wild on Wii U to break even with production. They have mentioned that they only have 100 people working on the game. They've had 300 people contribute over the entire production cycle.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. So, they only need 2 million. That's doable, right?
Yeah, I mean, it would make it easily a top 5 best-selling Wii U game.
Yeah. But
and it's also launching alongside the NX version, presumably?
yeah, that'd be okay to presume that. But here's the thing. Here's what I want to get to right here. They've definitely been taking their time with this game. They only need to sell 2 million copies. That means they've been very fiscally conservative, very responsible with where they're distributing funds. Does this highlight that they just completely abandoned the Wii U years ago? That they've just like, well, don't spend too much money on the only game people want. Be real careful about it.
I don't know about that because I think Nintendo is known for having very, very lean development teams, and that's part of the reason why their games are so tight. Like you don't see Nintendo games get released with massive day one patches to fix huge bugs.
No, they swole, bro. They swole.
Yeah, they swell. So they're that's kind of like a hallmark of Nintendo development is small teams. Even 100 people on a team with 300 contributions, that's very large by Nintendo standards.
Sure is.
So I don't know. I don't think it's really a point of concern, but you know, it's a very conservative number. I always laugh when, you know, Tomb Raider sold 5.5 million copies.
Disappointments.
What a disappointment.
Wish it would have sold
so
more.
Terrible. It's like, maybe don't have a development team of 9,000 people and, you know, pump $1 billion into hair tessellation.
Works for Assassin's Creed. Moving on, we have more business news from Nintendo. The last bit of Nintendo business news. Scott Moffitt, the head of sales and marketing for Nintendo America,
Scotty Moffs?
He is leaving the company. According to Nintendo, Scott Moffitt, Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing, has decided to leave Nintendo of America. In order to ensure a smooth transition, Scott will continue to work through the end of July. Nintendo has a strong group of seasoned leaders in place who will step in to assume the full responsibility of the role on a permanent basis, with the objective of driving more collaborative and creative efficiencies across the group and among the respective leaders. Blah, blah, blah. We thank you, Scott. Blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing, though. We've been talking about, we talk about when people leave companies. Every time it happens, we cover it. Oh, this person left Sony over in Europe. Oh, this person left Microsoft over in Germany. Whatever news we get, we cover it. It seems like Nintendo has lost a lot of people over in the UK, and that's starting to happen in North America. Is that any sort of cause for concern at all? Because I can't help but wonder why these higher-ups, these are higher-ups, are like, no, I think I'm going to go, you're about to launch that new console? I think I'm just gonna get out of the way here. You guys go ahead.
Yeah, well, the thing is, if you look at this guy's job title, sales and marketing.
Market bros, yeah.
Yeah, and you look at what Nintendo has failed miserably at since, like 2010.
Good games, yeah.
Sales and marketing has been abysmal. So that's not surprising.
Well, he's only had the job, I think, for 3 years, I believe.
The other thing is
4 years, maybe.
I think he was in charge of the Wii U sales and marketing. I could be wrong though.
Probably. It's been there for 3 or 4 years. Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, like when it launched. This isn't a major cause for concern, whether this is Nintendo, Sony, or whoever. Just because, if we're talking corporate culture in a broader sense, a lot of companies are doing this thing where instead of having a very clear linear hierarchy where this guy does this guy does this guy, you're seeing companies that are a lot flatter. So you have a guy like Reggie at the top, and then below Reggie, instead of having one guy and then another guy below him and another guy below him with very specialized titles, you just have a team. And that's because in the age of digital advertising and marketing and public relations, all of those jobs sort of intersect with one another, so they just put teams together instead of leaving individuals with single jobs.
Reggie at the top does sound like an excellent ska song.
Yeah, that's also my sexual preference.
Okay, well, always with Reggie. You gotta have the Reggie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, baby. There's no Reggie in the room.
People call me a Reggie bottom. What can I say? Gotta have my Reggie on the top.
I'm just gonna run.
That's also how I order an ice cream sundae.
Okay, all right. Well,
Also
Either
a
way,
sexual preference.
I would be a little worried, actually, just because seeing so many people just depart from the UK, seeing people leave from the US, including sales and marketing, people that are involved in advertising, they'll do whatever, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're a sales and marketing person within a company that's solely focused around very particular products, including the games and the consoles, I'm sure he's aware at least of what NX is supposed to be. And I'm sure the same thing for the UK, because they've lost plenty of people over there. I maybe I'm just doom and gloom. There's no evidence of this, but it just seems odd right now. I mean, don't get me wrong. Microsoft and Sony lost the people that were running those divisions shortly after the console's launch, but it seemed to be kind of like, at least for Jack Tretton over at Sony, it seemed like he was like, can't beat that. I wanted to leave. I've shepherded this. Perfect. And then you look at the dude over at Microsoft who's like, I fucked up this. I'll see you guys later before the console launches.
Mm-hmm.
This seems to be just kind of like lots of quiet exits,
Yeah, well, and with this one, too, if you look at this guy's career, he's just bounced around a lot. Like, it's just sort of his thing. I wonder if he gets bored after 5 years and has to do something different. Because I know I think he did marketing for, like, Pepsi for a while, for like 5 years, and then some other big company for 5 years. And it seems like he just has this career pattern of sort of bouncing between positions.
Well, we wish him luck in all future endeavors. Moving
Thank you,
on.
press release.
Sony has revealed some information about PlayStation Plus, specifically how many users they had last fiscal year.
12.
20.8 million.
That was a little off.
They also mentioned that they have 60 million monthly active PlayStation users. Here's the thing, though. PlayStation Plus obviously isn't just PlayStation 4, even though PlayStation 4 is selling like gangbusters. There's also PlayStation 3. There's also PlayStation Vita. Does 20.8 seem kind of low to you? Because with all, and don't get me wrong, the Vita's not lighting the world on fire, but I assume if you own a Vita, you're more inclined to use PlayStation Plus in a way. Even without the online play, you just like getting those free games. Same with PlayStation 3, because you're actually getting real AAA titles. And it seems like PlayStation 4, most people are upset because of the indie games, but they want to play online. This seems like a very low number for me.
I think there's almost an overestimation of the value of those free game offers, because I think if you ask the average person what you get with PlayStation Plus, I think they see it as the thing I need if I want to play, Call of Duty or Overwatch. They don't realize, because even on the PlayStation 4 channel, like on the front page, there's very, very seldom things that are like, hey, by the way, PlayStation Plus games this month. Like, you don't see that in the ticker along the top or anything like that. Like, even if I go to the PlayStation Store page, I have to click through like 3 or 4 things before I get to the PlayStation free downloads for the month.
I'll agree with you if this was 2 years ago, that maybe that's not the real pull. Because I remember having to explain to people, like, no, you have free games right now. Like, they couldn't believe it. But nowadays, it seems that people are very aware of this, because you often hear the bitching and moaning, like, indie station, more indie games.
Yeah, well, I think like internet
personal
culture,
project, boo.
like, Reddit and game forums and things like that, people that are tapped into it. But for average person who just buys a PS4, I don't know if that's on their radar. I think the bigger story here is we're constantly hearing about how important multiplayer is, but only a third of your user base is playing multiplayer.
Or maybe
that means 2/3 of your user base is more concerned with having good single-player experiences.
maybe they're playing Elder Scrolls Online. You don't know. That doesn't require PlayStation Plus.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't know who you are if you're buying a PlayStation 4 and you just don't use the internet features at all. Huh?
Poor is probably the answer.
Yeah, but even then you can connect your PlayStation 4 to the library's Wi-Fi. Okay, let's just move on. Toot. There's no toot. I keep doing that, by the way. I keep doing
You
the
just
toot.
tooting forever?
I always want toot to transition to stories.
That's
View.
a fart joke.
We have more information on View, the PlayStation television service that we confused with PlayStation TV. That has not been very successful. View has now 100,000 subscribers, considering that it just, recently launched in some new territories. Previously, it was New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and now it's starting to broaden out a little bit. 100,000 is a pretty damn impressive number. It's also been announced that Sling TV, which is part of, DirecTV, I believe, runs that. But it's available on Xbox One. That now has 700,000 subscribers. All of these services are available elsewhere, not just on consoles, but also available on set-top boxes, built into televisions themselves. Here's the real question, though. Are those services, what's the point of something like PlayStation View? Is this meant to attract people to the PlayStation 4, or is the PlayStation 4 meant to attract you to the service? Because I feel like they could do a better job of communicating that this is available on the PlayStation 4 and make it a selling point.
Sure.
Kind of like the way that they did with the DVD player back in the day with the PlayStation 2, saying, hey, you know what? For $60 a month, you can get all those channels you got on cable. Hell, we can do it a la carte, and you can do it on the PlayStation 4, which is also a Blu-ray player. Also, Netflix is on here. You got kids, it can play games. Do you think they're missing an opportunity right here to kind of merge that marketing?
Yeah, I think so. But part of the reason why they were hesitant is because a few years ago when Xbox was talking about the Xbox One as sort of an all-in-one media box, which is a great thing.
Still doesn't have DVR, baby.
Yeah, it still doesn't have DVR.
By the way, there's a story where they said it might happen still.
Oh, God. But anyways, there was this huge backlash, obviously, at E3. Oh, where are the games? Where are the games? I don't care about TV. Understandably so. So I think there's some hesitation there, especially because Sony has been doing so well by being like, here's all the games for all my gamer bros. Hey, what up?
Yeah.
It's a strategy that's been working for them. Also, I don't know the ins and outs of PlayStation Vue, but I know Sling TV, it's not a great value.
No.
I mean, unless you are obsessed with watching live cable television.
I mean, you can DVR things on there. It's a little bit of a trick, but they've smoothed that out certainly, and they just added USA to the base package.
But I'm just saying, like, between my Netflix subscription and my Hulu subscription, which altogether puts me under $20 a month.
Yeah, wow, how are you getting the cheap Hulus? Oh yeah, okay.
So
you're not getting rid of the advertisements?
No, I don't give a fuck.
Oh come on, dude, that's your life. That's your life right there. You're wasting time sitting through the same advertisement where a fucking cat is like playing maracas and they're like,
no,
so
that's,
random.
That's like, it's like an audio visual cue for me to stand up and get another beer.
Okay,
so,
but we need to talk about your life choices in general then.
So the point is though, it's I get everything I need. I have basically every single cable channel, but it's sort of this, you know, it's not live. So if you really value live television for one reason or another, then that's the appeal.
I'm just saying it's an older generation that still uses cable. And I feel like they could actually sell these PlayStation 4s to those older generations. You might be saying, what the hell are you talking about? But like, they have kids, you know, and they can say, hey, you know, this is where you can play the games and you can watch your TVs and the Netflix and the Hulu and all that kind of stuff. And hey, we got VR headsets coming out and, you know.
I just think it has potential, but as it stands right now, it's almost too much of a niche audience. I mean, 100,000 people is still a lot. 700,000 people is still
also
a lot.
Considering the markets that they're going after, New York, California, New York, Los Angeles. And
grand scheme of things, though, you know, old people use cable because you can just call the cable company. It's really low maintenance, whatever.
The picture's bad.
And all these young hip millennials are cord cutters with Hulu and Netflix.
What a stupid term, by the way. Who cuts the cord?
Who cuts the cord?
You're gonna cut a cord, you're gonna get electrocuted, stupid.
That's dangerous. So I don't know who the core audience for this is.
Let's talk more about core audiences, because obviously Xbox has some very passionate core users that like their controllers, because according to Phil Spencer, 1 million Xbox Elite controllers have been sold. That's an incredible number right there for an accessory, an unnecessary accessory. It does nothing more than offer you a better version of the exact same controller. 1 million sold. Now, I don't know about you, but let's put a hypothetical here. If they had a better version of the DualShock 4, think about a feature that you want. Think about an issue you have with the DualShock 4, and they said, hey, you know what, for $80 or $100, we can fix that for you, and this controller is built to last, and it will last on your PC everywhere else. Wouldn't you go for that? I don't know about you, but I got sweaty hands. If they had a little bit better grip on the side of that controller, my God, $100 right there for you, Sony.
Well, I'm not a sweaty boy like Colin, so I don't have any real issues with
I just have a Percocet addiction while I play games.
Yeah, that makes sense.
How do you think I get those reviews done?
I don't know. I mean, the Xbox One controller is nice, but I really like the Xbox 360 controller. Like, I don't know. It's fine the way it is. I can't see myself paying twice as much for a controller.
I tell you this much. Get rid of your Xbox 360 controller and get an Xbox One controller. It's way better. It's far better than the Xbox 360 controller. Not even kidding. Just light years ahead of it. Like, you try and go back to that 360 controller now, it's not even like going back to...
Well, then I won't, because then I'll be spending $60 and I won't be able to go back. I'm fine with the one I have.
No, trust me, it's well worth it. Like, I played Inside this week, which we're not going to talk about because I already have a video up on there and don't want to spoil it, but like, every time I go back to the Xbox One, I begin to appreciate that controller more and more and more. From the beginning, I was like, no, I prefer the DualShock 4. Now it's starting to shift a little bit because that's so fucking comfortable. So good. I'm going to get an Elite controller.
Nerd boy.
Hey, don't make fun of me. I like to customize my controller my way. So when I'm playing online and increasing that KD ratio, I want to be the best out there.
Colin Tanner, an anime fan on prom night.
And all praise to the Lord and Microsoft for this amazing Xbox controller. Hashtag blessed. Hashtag get wrecked. I don't know who that person is, but I want to hang out with them. They sound fun. All right. Let's talk about Gameloft. Gameloft was recently acquired by Vivendi, and we are now starting to see that process. Stefan Razul. Now, there's a lot of names here I'm going to have difficulty pronouncing. Just go with me. A former Vivendi COO has officially become the new CEO of Gameloft, and they've announced 4 new members on the board of directors for Gameloft. I've only put down a couple of them right here because Frederick Crippen, he is actually already a member of Vivendi's management board, and Maxim Saad, the CEO of Dailymotion, are joining on there. According to Razul, the new CEO, I start my role today with an ambitious plan to combine your creative passion with Vivendi's passion to accelerate Gameloft's development. You will be fully integrated. You will be a fully integrated member of Vivendi's family while maintaining your distinctiveness and originality. You know what? We've been talking for a long time. What's the long game here? Why are they playing head games with Ubisoft? Buying a little bit of stock here and there.
Hostile takeover?
Yes.
War of attrition, hostile takeover?
Do you think that them, by Vivendi running Gameloft, this is their opportunity, this is their prototype to prove that we should run Ubisoft? Look at what we're going to do here. We're also going to let them have all their creative freedom. Think about it. Look at what we did, right? Do you think I'm reading into this too much? Or that they're actually trying to establish a precedent, a recent precedent, because obviously the Activision Blizzard thing did not go very well, saying we allow people to do what they want to do, and we just, we help fund them, and we're great managers.
Yeah, I think, hostile takeover from a PR standpoint, not a good look. But, slowly chipping away at a company while seeming like the good guy, it's a better look. It's still slimy and evil, but as far as like a public-facing company, I mean, that's the best way to do it, I suppose.
Yeah, because hostile takeover sounds like, I asked her out every single week and she said no, but now we've been married for 35 years. You're like, that's fucking sad, Grandpa.
Yeah, exactly.
I think with Gameloft, they're going to be taking that opportunity to allow Gameloft to kind of maybe even expand their horizons and do cool new creative things, and then be like, hey, Ubisoft, what are you waiting for?
This could be you, but you still playing.
All right, Street Fighter V. We were talking about it earlier. It's been announced that the Street Fighter V World Championships will be broadcast on ESPN and Watch ESPN. One of the dumbest names ever.
So ESPN 3 then, right?
I think that's an online service. Well, ESPN 2 and Watch ESPN. Okay. According to John Lasker of ESPN, the Street Fighter V World Championships will be one of the must-see competitions from the EVO finales. We're always exploring ways to serve a growing new passion audience, blah, 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 blah. I'm very curious to see how this does. Because I think more so than any other esport, that horrible term, esport, this is the one that could actually get like mainstream people to understand it. MOBAs are too new. And
also boring as hell to watch.
I bet they're better if you know what's going on. But they're too new. Whereas Street Fighter, I mean, everyone knows Street Fighter. There are people in their 40s that love Street Fighter, that recognize that brand. They turn on ESPN and they see the personalities walk up to the stage, shake hands, lose, wipe off their hands, and get back on the joystick. There's something that's very visceral about it. There's something that people can kind of relate to because it's more arcadey. They see joysticks and buttons, and I don't know. I think this could be huge. Besides that, I don't know if you ever sat down and watched Street Fighter on Evo. God damn, is it entertaining.
No, it's a lot of fun. I think huge is a vast overstatement. I don't think it's going to be huge at all. I think a few people will watch it. ESPN, traditionally, their esports coverage hasn't done very well, even with bigger titles. I don't think this is going to change that, but I think it's going to be a more entertaining watch. And the problem with esports just the whole idea of an esport is weird to me, but we won't get into that semantic thing. They haven't found the game, the entry drug to video games,
King of Kings, if you will.
Yeah, it's not there yet. It's not MOBAs because the tactics are too complex and there's way too much going on. so you can't, like, the average person.
Right.
You need something where, think of basketball, think of hockey, think of baseball, football, any popular sport to watch on television.
Right.
If you don't understand the sport, like the deeper level of the sport, you can still flip it on. There's still excitement, and you can still generally parse out what the rules are and how this works.
And that's why Slam Ball wasn't a hit. They just couldn't parse out those rules fast enough. But I want to say, though, the Street Fighter has been around as Street Fighter today, not like the 1980s original game, but for 25 years, people know what Street Fighter is.
It's got cultural cachet.
You know, in so many ways, whether it's we want to change the national anthem to Guile's theme song, to people just doing things like Hadouken, to all these parody videos on YouTube. I think this does have the potential, especially because EVO, for my money, the best commentators on all of esports are for EVO. They are so careful to describe and explain exactly what the motivations and functions are for each approach. And after they lose, they say, here's why he lost. He overestimated this. I think this could be it. Because Street Fighter, 25 years as a name.
Yeah.
We're watching Street Fighter, the best players in the world, and you're kind of like, that's so stupid if it's, some sort of MOBA. But if you're a 45-year-old dude, you're like, I remember that game. I played it in college. Sure, let's look at this.
Well, the other thing we have to consider, too, is it goes back to this whole, like, cord cutter thing this discussion we were having. I think EVO will continue to do bang-up numbers for online streaming services like Twitch, but I don't think we're not there yet for ESPN. I bet EVO is going to do better than all of their other esports coverage, and it'll be a positive trend upwards, but I still think, broadly speaking, it's going to be a failure. Like, you're not going to hit...
Oh, you're killing me. Besides that...
What, you honestly think it's going to hit, like, World Series of Poker numbers?
I think that there is a potential, yes. I don't know. I don't think it will, but I think because you also have to remember that EVO has also been around for many, 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 many years. So they can have those older commentators where it's like, oh, I used to play the game and I retired. You have personalities that are already there. The cream has already risen to the top.
Poker's been around for hundreds of years. If you ask my dad what poker is, he'll tell you.
He will take out his gun and say, is this a game?
If you ask my dad what Street Fighter is, he's not going to know. Street Fighter has more cultural cachet, but that being said, it's not going to be a crossover success. We're not there yet. Absolutely not.
Hater. Moving on, finally something we can both agree on. Tetris is obviously perfect for movies. Tetris the movie is going to be coming out, but according to Larry Kassanov, they are splitting it up into 3 films. Why? He says, that's correct. And purely because the story we conceived is so big. This isn't us splitting the last one of our 8 movies into 2 or wringing blood out of the stone. It's just a big story.
I don't believe that at all. There's already a great Tetris movie.
Which one?
It's called The Ecstasy of Order. It's
the documentary.
Yeah, the documentary about professional Tetris players.
Also, a number of documentaries and books written on the creation of Tetris, which involves the Soviet Union and the United States and Japan working together to get that game across the world. Very cool story. What a joke. Let's just bounce through some of these. Starbreeze, the developer behind Payday, Brother: A Tale of Two Sons, and of course, Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay, and the 2012 Syndicate. These are pretty good games, you know? They have acquired Epon. They are an AR and AR, VR, and Toys to Life company. I don't know. Starbreeze wants to enter VR. Not a huge shock right there. Do you think they axed that Toys to Life division today? Like, within 24 hours, like, okay, we're done there. Because that market has been shrinking rapidly, like crazy amounts for the past year.
I don't know. I mean, if it's profitable, keep it. But I mean, I can't think of any of their Toys to Life. Like, what the fuck do they do? Are they developing tech for it? Do they actually have their own line of toys? Like, I don't understand what they're doing.
Maybe they just developed the technologies for that, which will perhaps better integrate into a VR/AR scenario.
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, it just makes you worried because when you say Toys to Life, hopefully you're creating the software for it, not the hardware, because hardware is very expensive. So, cross fingers there. PlayStation 4 is losing Ustream support. Before you laugh, this was a very popular streaming service in Japan. If you ever wanted to see like a Japanese game that was on the PlayStation 4 first before it came to the United States, that's the only way you could watch it. That's how I watched Natural Doctrine before it came out. And I still played that game, and it was garbage.
You know, and it's the only live streaming service where I really enjoy the chat, too.
And hardcore sex. You can just watch all of it. You know?
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Twitch has officially added microtransactions known as cheers. Cheers are these little gifts that you can send to someone that you're viewing. It grants them money, actual financial money. You purchase cheers with bits, which are purchased through the Amazon payment system because Twitch is owned by Amazon. So instead of going through PayPal or Patreon, you can now just say, hey, here's $100 in the comments. Here's this GIF, and you recognize the shape. They look kind of cool. They're a bunch of polygons exploding. Here's who said this? Who the hell said this? Let me get the name. All right. Can I get the name for like 5 seconds, dude?
No, you can't get it.
It's just a Twitch press release. Our goal is to make cheering a great experience for streamers and viewers alike. During the beta period, we'll be gathering feedback and making improvements, which is much easier to do on a smaller scale. Well, we're excited about the future of cheering, and we're looking forward to making it more widely available as soon as it's ready. Here's my thing. I guarantee you, Twitch did not come up with this idea on their own. This was Amazon being like, hey, so remember when we bought you guys, and then you decided to launch your service on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One? So now we have all these people streaming and nobody watching it, and it's not profitable? Hey, by the way, we're Amazon, right? You know we actually aren't that profitable of a company, right? And now you're costing us money here? Make up some bullshit. I don't care. Cheers, whatever. Bits. Who cares?
Well, and part of the way that Twitch it can be profitable is by kind of walling off their ecosystem and making everything self-contained. So once we get to the point where you don't need open broadcast anymore, you don't need PayPal and Patreon links and you know, streamers trying to figure out how to gain additional revenue.
You simply will the cash into existence with your mind fuel.
So the way that Twitch becomes profitable and the way that they continue to grow is when they look at all the things that streamers have to do outside of Twitch and make it available.
Yeah, why wouldn't they? It's already there.
Yeah, and it blows my mind that like open broadcaster is still a thing. Like that should not be a thing.
No,
Twitch should have a completely robust suite of tools for people to use to do this shit.
Dude, remember what was that a few months ago where that guy was playing piano and people kept sending him hundreds of dollars so he'd play songs on Twitch? That was bonkers.
God bless that man.
Well, we were already talking about Twitch. We were talking about them trying to become more profitable, and they're trying to broaden out to other audiences. You can already draw on Twitch, and people can give you suggestions, and that's cool. And finally, you can eat. That's right. Social eating is coming to Twitch in its very own section. Before you judge, over in Korea and Japan, social eating, big thing. Here in America, we like to watch people drink hot sauce on YouTube because we're fucking monsters, and we're full of morons. But over in Japan, they like people to eat on camera. I don't exactly understand it. We were just talking about Ustream. They were purchased by IBM. There's going to be some changes going on there. Do you think this is Twitch trying to broaden out into the Asian territory, saying, hey, you like competitive eating? We got competitive eating right now.
Sure. And I think that Twitch will probably in the future kind of take up a YouTube model where instead of just sorting by games and game genres, you can actually find different categories. So you're probably going to see live streaming unboxing videos, things like that.
Unbox. What'd you get in that box this month?
Oh, God.
That's awesome. Oh, my God. A keychain. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, you know what the lowest point of my life was? At work, I had to write a point of view document on how to do an unboxing video for a client.
Wow. Step one is put the barrel in your mouth.
That's what I wanted to do, seriously.
Jesus. All right, we really need to keep moving. Let's go to the top 10 best-selling games in the UK for the week. Number 10 is UEFA Euro 2016 Pro Evolution Soccer from Konami. Number 9 is Ratchet & Clank. Number 8 is Star Wars Battlefront. Number 7 is Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Number 6 is Rocket League because that had a physical release. Number 5 is Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 4 is Overwatch. Number 3 is Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. Number 2 is FIFA 16. And number 1, still going fast, Doom. That's good news, isn't it? Now let's go over to the cursed land of bullet trains, known as Japan, for the top 10 best-selling games, and then move on to their consoles. Number 10 is Pokemon Red/Green/Blue/Yellow. That's a download card, not an actual physical copy. Number 9 is Dragon Quest Heroes 2 Fudoko no Tu Yogen no Owari for the Vita. See, I've been practicing. Number 8 is Umbrella Corps, the download code on the PlayStation 4, selling over 11,000 copies right there.
Ha!
I know. Number 7 is Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Spirit of Justice on the 3DS, with a significant drop from last week. Number 6 is Taiko Drum Master Dokin Mystery Adventure. Number 5 is Coven and Labyrinth of Refrain on the Vita. I don't know.
Sure.
Number 4 is Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympics for Wii U. Fuck you, Japan. Don't buy those games. Number 3 is Minecraft Wii U Edition.
Hey.
Go figure.
I got that Mario DLC, baby.
Number 2 is Caligula on the Vita.
What?
Let's just move on.
You fuck a horse?
Do you let a small man stomp on a dead body without arms? Number 1 is Harvest Moon. 3 Tusu no Satu no Tasatu na Tomodachi on the 3DS. Told you I've been practicing. I've never even read those names before.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, yeah, that's how good it is. Now let's talk about where the best-selling consoles in Japan. Starting out with the PlayStation 4 with 21,475, new Nintendo 3DS with 15,906, PlayStation Vita with 11,375, Wii U with 4,442, new Nintendo 3DS with 3,458, PlayStation 3 with 871, new Nintendo 3DS with 340, new regular Nintendo 3DS LL with 312, Xbox One with 72.
Yeah.
And
must be that good controller.
In last place, once again, the PlayStation Vita TV. Go ahead, Steve. Guess.
Well, it's less than 72. I'm going to go lower than last week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go 14.
Little higher.
15?
Just a little higher.
16?
Ding, ding, ding.
Didn't they sell 17 last week? Oh, no. Numbers are down.
Yep, 16. That is amazing. 16.
Let's invite all those people to be on the podcast.
The country of millions known as Japan that loves the Vita purchased 16 PlayStation Vita TVs last week.
And they don't love TVs.
And that's going to do it for the Chart Park. The land where money grows on trees. You want to just keep going?
Yeah, let's keep rolling, baby.
We don't have much left.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's roll.
Yeah, all right. No
yeah,
break
okay.
this
It's time for Steve's Angel Dust Corner. Hashtag PCP. Hashtag Dusty Life.
You ever see that on Facebook where someone like will post, they'll share something that's like, end PCP addiction. And like right away you're like, oh, that's what happened here, brother. Okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They don't want to talk about it, but they want to post tons of shit on Facebook. It's basically the tragedy equivalent of, boy, could this day get any worse? Unsmiley face without any details on Facebook.
Yep.
By the way, don't fucking do that.
Yeah.
What are you hyping up people for? To talk about your day? You stupid. Don't do that. I'm serious. Like, I don't understand. There's no area where I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Sometimes it just feels good to do that.
So wait, you're not going to wear this PCP awareness ribbon that I got for you right there?
I want to shrink away from this topic. So I guess it's time to get tiny. It's time for Pocket Talk, Pocket Talk, Pocket Talk. Throwdown, the quest for cards, is a brand new game coming to the iOS and Android shops. It is a card game like Hearthstone that stars characters from Bob's Burgers, American Dad, King of the Hill, Futurama, and Family Guy. With more than half of those, no longer airing on Fox. This is being made by Congregate. According to Emily Greer, we are looking forward to integrating characters from these hit series in a unique and exciting way that fans of all of the shows will really love. What? Like, why are they making this?
I don't know. It seems like a weird, cynical cash grab with bad timing. I wonder if it's going to be more like the WWE card game or more like Hearthstone.
I have no idea, but really, seriously, American Dad fans, I love all those shows they listed. Every one of them.
American Dad fans, all 6 of you guys. I
love American Dad. I love Family Guy. I don't care. Haters gonna hate. I love King of the Hill. I love the first couple of seasons of Futurama. And this is all targeted towards me, and I have zero interest. And I play video games nonstop. I have zero interest.
I want a point-and-click adventure based on King of the Hill. Make that for me.
Well, if you're a king, you're part of a dynasty. And you might even be a warrior. Koei Tecmo has announced that Dynasty Warriors is coming to mobile. Do you see that transition?
So just people on the bus, like, just banging on their phone?
I'm saying you need a screen protector if you're going to be playing this game. What if they...
It's a real screen masher.
It's better than that the Punch-Out game. That'd be amazing. Project Dynasty Warriors. This is a quote, by the way. This is from a press release. Project Dynasty Warriors will feature an enhanced collection let's try this again.
Yeah.
Take two. Well, I'll just add this out. People will never notice. Project Dynasty Warriors will feature an enhanced collection element. Dynasty Warriors will feature an enhanced collection element. Enhanced collection element. Enhanced collection element. These are red flags going off right now, people. Dynasty Warriors enhanced collection element. Of unique characters to choose from, along with the seamless gameplay mechanics and graphics of the console versions.
Wait a second. I feel a sneeze coming on. Microtransactions. Sorry.
Oh my god. If there's one thing I don't think about when I play Dynasty Warriors, it's collecting. I think about killing, which is, you know, what I like to do most of my life. What are they talking about? Like, I can understand. Why don't they just charge for the game? You know,
microtransactions.
Because you know this is not one of those situations where the collection part is free and you just pay for the game.
Yeah, collecting to me, that, like, I don't know, that insinuates that you have to go out and do something to obtain it, but all you're gonna do is tap.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. Collecting digital shit is the dumbest thing in the world.
Yeah, it's like a rare platformer from 1999.
You got to go out there, spend too much on a physical thing that you'll leave for your grandkids. Well, it costs literally nothing anymore when you die.
Exactly.
You know. Anyway, Her Story has officially launched on the Google Play Store.
Cool.
For Android. Unfortunately, it's not a real game. Because it's mobile.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not dissing Her Story, but now it's mobile. You know, like that.
Yeah, that was good. That little bait and switch.
Sam Barlow, the creator of the game, said, "Hey, this is perfect because this is the way that people consume video now. And now they use the internet. So, actually, this might be even better than the PC version.
It's a fucking awesome game. Go play it.
A lot of people love it. And that's going to do it for Pocket Talk. Pocket Talk. That was fun. I had a good time talking about Dynasty Warriors Mobile.
Talking about your pockets?
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. Now it's time for the Pocket Pool section.
Playing Pocket Pool is a lot of fun. But if you're doing it in church, you might look a little silly. You might look a little foolish, but you're not as dumb as the idiot of the week. Idiot of the week is a very special feature this week because unfortunately there were too many. I'm not even kidding you. Too many idiots to just have one idiot of the week. We have 4 idiots of the week. I really couldn't pick between one. I tried shifting them back into different sections, and they would just bounce right back out because I'm like, no, this is ridiculous.
Are they all part of the same story? Are these 4 separate stories?
They're 4 separate stories.
All right, lay it on me.
A PSN user whose name is Jahid Khalid Alamofahad.
Oh, I know about this one.
Was recently banned from the PlayStation Network because his PSN name referenced his first name, Jahid, which of course sounds like jihad, which sounds like jihadi, which sounds like a lot of things. Mostly it sounds like a holy war. Someone who's willing to die for a religious war. So he was banned from PSN for having Jahid, you know, like a play on iPhone and iMac. Jahid. Well, PSN realized their error after he took to social networks, and they have brought him back on.
That's good.
That's why it's at the very bottom. So, you know. But there's a reason it's still the idiot of the week, because he lost all his damn trophies. He doesn't have a friends list anymore. He has no way to actually communicate with anyone on his PlayStation 4 anymore.
All my platinums are gone.
Yep, basically, he lost so many things. He can still play the games, but a lot of the features that he accumulated over the year, including his trophies, which if he's bitching about his trophies means he's a big PlayStation fan, which is really depressing that happened to him. Whatever. He's like, I don't know. He's old enough to the point where Jahid did not mean that when he was growing up. It has a very particular meaning that has been since changed. So Sony, you are one of the idiots of the week. But you're not as dumb as, well, overdrive right there. You're not as dumb as Orion. They develop a number of games, but their latest project, which was on Steam, was taken down by Activision. Why? Activision claimed that they were using stolen assets, particularly for guns, in their upcoming game. The guy who helps run Orion, David Praetzel, says, great. I'm the idiot of the week. Last night, I received evidence directly from Activision regarding assets not even mentioned in public yet. Upon receiving this, it became immediately apparent that blatant ripoffs were made, while the artist while the artist offered to remake any assets at no cost, he has now been fired immediately upon learning this. This will significantly affect production, and I will get into that later. Well, the game's already back on Steam, so I guess that wasn't too much trouble for him. Also, they've done this before, stealing sound effects from Counter-Strike and Ark Survival Evolved for their other titles. If you're gonna steal from something, don't steal from Call of fucking Duty.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. Well,
And the side-by-sides, it's like, yeah.
and like, let's say that you just don't want to design a gun yourself or make your own sound effects or whatever. There are plenty of websites with very high-quality assets.
Freesounds.com.
Unreal Engine, for
Echo
Unity,
fart.
for like literally any development platform that you can think of. There are there's some free assets. There's also paid asset packs that you can get, and you can use those.
Yeah.
Or you could, design your own shit.
I think it's just so disgusting, especially coming from a podcast that takes all its news sources from press releases and other websites and always uses video game music from other games. But still, you are, Orion, developer, whoever that nameless artist is, you are the idiot of the week. But you're not as stupid as a Boston, I guess I didn't say Boston, a Massachusetts Ford dealership that announced their upcoming Quick Ford event. Problem is that the art for the event showed, a forest with, maybe reds and light yellows and a Firewatch tower, because the art was directly stolen from the game Firewatch.
That's really weird.
Side by side, it's identical. They didn't even change the color of this. And it was pretty funny because Caposanto had a tweet that said, remember when Henry and Delilah were excited about the Ford Freedom Sales event?
Oh, God.
According to Quincy Quirk Ford, they have the manager there. His name is Sean Western. They don't actually make the art themselves. They received that from Ford.
That's even worse.
See, here's the thing. Independent developer stealing from a big company? Stupid. Idiotic. Not as bad as a giant conglomerate stealing from an independent developer. That's why Ford, you are the idiots of the week. But they are not as dumb as the last one. Tom Ross. He is now engaged in a lawsuit with Apple to the tune of $10 billion.
That's a big number.
Mm-hmm. He'll be representing himself in this lawsuit.
Wait, is he the one getting sued?
No. He's suing Apple.
For $10 billion, representing himself.
Representing himself. What's that old quote? Any man that would have himself as a client is a fool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, I muddied it up. Anyone that would represent himself has a fool as a client, I believe is the old quote.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember from law school so many years ago. But Thomas Ross says that he invented a device called the electronic reading device, the ERD, back in 1992. And when he looks at the iPhone these days, he's shocked. He says, instead of creating its own ideas, Apple chose to adopt a culture of dumpster diving as an R&D strategy. His ERD allows one to read stories, novels, news articles, as well as look at pictures, video presentations, or even movies on a flat touchscreen.
Shouldn't he be suing like Kindle?
Shouldn't he remember that Apple made the Newton prior to the ERD? $10 billion? And you're representing yourself for a concept that was invented on Star Trek and numerous other science fiction stories.
Also, you know why he's probably representing himself? Not a single lawyer would take this case.
Also, probably doesn't have money for a lawyer.
Wait, you mean the ERD didn't take off?
That's why Thomas Ross, Sony, Ford, Orion, all of you together have made this one of the stupidest weeks I can possibly think of in the video game industry and technology industry. And that is why you are all the idiots. I'll borrow that. Hey, you borrowed that. I'm suing you. Of the week. I guess we're all just a bunch of stupid dumbasses.
That's beautiful.
I can you see why I couldn't separate that?
Mm-hmm. Those were good. I like the escalation. That was nice.
I couldn't help it.
It's a lot of idiots.
I couldn't help it. Because I looked at those stories like that. These are all relevant, and they're all insane. All insane. We talked about the dumb. Now let's talk about the brilliant. Let's talk about the amazing. Let's talk about those wonderful people that listen to the show and said, hey, I want to be on that show. They email pressurecast@gmail.com. They tweet at pressurecastpod using the hashtag pressurecast. And they even call or text 954-947-7377 in a little something we like to call thank you for the email. We have 2 emails this week.
Oh, shit.
And the first one we're starting off with is, hands down, the coolest email we've ever received. I know what you're thinking. Hey, I sent you an email, you dumbasses. Nope, you can't compete with this.
It's finally that hentai fan art we've been asking for.
That's not... Okay. This email is from Omar, and here's what he had to say. Hello! I love the podcast. It actually has become my gym background noise. So imagine that. I was always told people like to run from my voice. And now it's finally doing some good, you know?
Perfect.
Mm-hmm. So, I lost my arm in the Marines a couple of years back. I used to be a pretty avid gamer, and still am, but now I'm forced to watch other people play games I love. My question is, when will a big developer create accessible gaming? Do they even talk about this? Anyone care? Maybe just venting. But anyways, keep doing your thing. You guys are awesome. Omar, thank you for the email. You know why this is the best email ever? Because it's basically a dude saying, I want to play games, and I can't. It's just a dude saying, I want to play some games.
Mm-hmm.
With a question like, this is bullshit.
Absolutely bullshit.
That's my favorite question right there. Just be like, hey, I want to play games, and I can't. What the fuck?
Yeah, and it's kind of a thing that the industry doesn't want to talk about. We always talk about making games more accessible, but we think about making them more accessible to people who don't normally play games. But it's rare that we talk about people who want to play games but can't. So there's been some small steps forward. Like, I think game companies are finally starting to come around to the idea that, hey, our game has a lot of flashing lights. Maybe we should put a seizure warning and like an option to turn that shit off.
Oh yeah, yep.
One of the, I think it was one of the free PlayStation Plus games a couple months ago. It's been out on Steam for a while. It's called Shoot Shimi.
Mm-hmm.
But they have an option to turn off blinking shit for people who are sensitive to light, which is nice. As far as, people who may only have access to, one of their limbs or something like that, one of their arms, one of their legs, I don't know. That's a little dicier. We sort of saw an inkling of that with the introduction of motion controls a decade ago, but I don't think that promise was ever fulfilled.
So I was working at Blockbuster when the Wii was announced, and one of the guys that would regularly come in, he had limited movement. He was in a wheelchair, and he liked to play a lot of games, but he didn't have full control over one of his arms. He was like, that's not even remotely for me. Like, he was so disappointed because he loved playing the GameCube. He's like, that's just not happening. And then instead he bought an Xbox 360 and played like Gears. So everything worked out kind of for him.
Yeah.
But I did some research on this because I'm aware of the strides to fix colorblindness when it comes to games. Because that's a pretty big issue, and that actually happens a lot. Colorblind modes are making a lot of appearances in games lately. So here's what I got for you. First of all, PC is the way to go. If you have the choice, get a PC, because there are mice out there that have a ton of buttons on them. You've seen them. They have the whole keypad up top. Some of them even have like analog sticks built into the mouse, left-handed and right-handed. You're covered. Look around by moving the mouse, move around by using the analog stick, done. And the coolest thing is that there's so many different ways that you can, bind keys. Even if the game doesn't support it, you can just use an alternative program to force it to recognize that particular controller. Is it going to work 100% of the time? No. I mean, you can't guarantee that. But not only that, you could also use some emulators to play some older games that maybe you want to catch up on. So maybe you want to play, PlayStation 2 game. You could definitely do it that way. Not a bad way to go about it. But let's say that you have friends on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. You want to play online with people. That's the stuff you want to play. Well, there are some options. Of course, Sony has adopted the ability to map the buttons anywhere you want on the DualShock 4. But hey, you still got to use a DualShock 4.
Yeah.
Might not be perfect for you. There is a device known as the Cronus Max Plus cross-cover gaming adapter, which allows you to plug via USB any alternative controller. So you could use your Xbox One controller on your PlayStation 4. Pretty cool. But you can also use a mouse and keyboard, and that means you could probably use one of those really cool mice that allow you to basically play exclusively with one hand.
Sure.
There's also a number of random websites, I didn't copy them all down, that actually modify controller. They go in there and they physically alter the controllers to be used exclusively for one hand. There you go. There's people out there. Is it going to cost you more than a regular controller? Ooh, you better believe it. But hey, you can play games. It's worth it. There's a worth it right there. That's the fastest worth it I ever did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are there any websites out there that specifically like document games with like accessibility for people with different disabilities? Is that a thing? That should be a thing.
Actually, there are a number of them.
Hey, look at that.
First and foremost, I would recommend going to ablegamers.com. It is a wonderful organization that provides free consultation to game developers on how to make their games more accessible. They are, I believe, not for profit, nonprofit. They should be making money though. It doesn't matter. These guys do the Lord's work. And they go to the developers and say, hey, here's how we'd like to approach this. Can you do this? X, Y, and Z. I believe they were involved in why Sony allowed people to bind their buttons any way they wanted to. Not only that, but they have a website that unstoppablegamer.com, which actually covers all the latest news. And I was reading an article about like someone that's been playing Dark Souls 3. They don't have either arm, so they just play with their feet. They're having a good time. It's awesome. They had someone that had the limited mobility from, I believe it was the neck down. So they're playing Skyrim, somehow using a potato. I didn't understand how that was working, but they're doing it. The fact is that the people like Able Gamers are making sure that anyone can play any game. Now, are you going to be the best person on there online? Probably not. But there are people out there that are beating Dark Souls with a Guitar Hero controller. Anything's possible, man. Like, that's... Also reddit.com/r/disabledgamers. It's a pretty good Reddit forum. Not a whole lot of users on there, but very supportive. If you ask, like, hey, where can I get this particular one-hand controller? They got you covered. But yes, do they need to support this? Absolutely. And I mean, we've talked about this in the past. This has come up a lot because it seems like one of those areas that it's going to matter more and more as people get older. Even if you're not thinking about physical restrictions in concern of, a missing limb or whatever, eventually people are going to get older, they're going to have limited mobility, and they're going to need those, they're going to need that support, This is a very important medium to a lot of people. You need to support this area. And besides that, most importantly, we need to get this done so that Omar can start his very own Twitch or YouTube channel. So, you know what? Let's flip the fucking table over. Let's get Omar his own channel so that people have to watch him play games and go, damn, that looks awesome. Besides that, coming from your perspective, Omar, you might be able to actually help other people. Not a bad way to do it. Like, I'd do it, but I feel unqualified, I don't know about the subject. Maybe start a channel, dude. Think about it. Because I couldn't find any YouTube channels.
That's a lot of good information. Well-researched answer, Colin Tanner.
I gotta be honest with you. I just I asked the secretary to do that. No, we have Ricky Martin as a secretary. It's a very strange scenario. We have a second email. Oh, but wait, hold the fucking phone. Omar, thank you for the email. I hope you find any of that useful. If you have any, I mean that's all I could find. But if you have any more questions, email. We'll respond.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Give us a progress update. That would be awesome. Okay. We have an email from Jacob. His is a lot more low-key. Hey, just wondering if you've heard when the PlayStation 4 or PS4K will be releasing, prices, bundles, etc. No. There's no information about when it's coming out.
Been combing the web. What does NeoGAF say?
Yeah. Well, a number of analysts have said it's going to be coming out this year, and we did have that interview with Andrew House not too long ago where he said, hey, people want instant gratification, and that's what we're going to build this around. So, honestly, next month, could they announce it and release it? In September? Yeah. They could drop it at any moment. So you got to be vigilant. Keep your eyes peeled. As for price, I'm going to estimate $400.
Seems fair.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that. You got $400? Is that a prediction?
400 or 500, depending.
Could you see it go lower than 400?
No, I don't see that happening. But
Okay.
you'll also see a corresponding regular PS4 price drop
Okay.
down to probably 200.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be amazing. All right, cool. Jacob. Ooh, they should bundle in Sony View for like a month. Get them hooked.
You good?
Get them hooked. Jacob, thank you for the email. Remember, pressurecast@gmail.com, 954-947-7377, and at PressureCastPod on Twitter. And we'll read your questions. That was my favorite. That was my favorite segment of the show right there. That was fun this week. I'm just, yeah. But we need to get in the time machine, Steve. Before we can close out the show, we got to go back in time. Got to take a look at what happened 10 years ago and beyond. And a little segment we wanted to call Strong History.
It's not like you said Chong history.
Dong History.
Dong history. My dog's got a long history
Okay.
of disease.
Okay. 11 years ago this week, July 7th, to be specific, one of the greatest games of all time, one of the strangest games of all time, a game that should be celebrated, HDified, re-released, everything. Killer 7 was launched on the GameCube. All hail this seminal masterpiece from Suda51 and Capcom, a bizarre merger of adventure games and first-person shooting.
I know. Where's my 10-year anniversary VR edition? Come on.
They've announced that they're going to be releasing a number of Suda games. Grasshopper is re-releasing them, and so there is potential that this could be re-released. I fucking
Suda 51 Master Collection with commentary, please.
I fucking love that game. Love that game. So good. So weird. Like, oh, how do you solve this puzzle? Well, that's the funny thing. Actually, the game is very easy. All the puzzles are dead simple. But just the action of being like, oh, hold on, this girl has to slit her wrist so that we can make a tree appear. Okay.
Yeah.
12 years ago, Slave Pageant was released.
What the fuck is that?
The queen of our school, Miss Twilight. In reality, she's a secretly trained Coruscant, able to bring pleasure to any man. The 3 beautiful candidates in this year's Miss Twilight competition have no idea what awaits them. Our hero discovers the secret of the sexual competition and decides to train the girls for himself, making them into the ultimate sexual servants.
This is Japanese-only visual novel?
It was released in America.
Oh my... On what system?
PC.
Oh, there you go.
Slave Pageant. Like, clearly not working out how that name would be received.
Live Dive this week?
No, definitely, for sure. 13 years ago, Star Wars Galaxies, a.k.a. An Empire Divided, was launched on PC in 2003, a game where if you were important enough in the game, you could become in-canon Star Wars character. An in-canon Star Wars character. You know what's funny about that? Yeah, they're all gone now.
Canon's gone, yeah.
Disney bought him and was like, nah, fuck that dude. It's kind of depressing. 15 years ago, in America, Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec was released on PlayStation 2. One of the best racing games ever. So good. The only thing I don't like about that game is they introduced the PT Cruiser into racing games. Fucking wood paneling bullshit, knock you off the road. Hate PT Cruisers.
When do I get an HD remake of Beetle Adventure Racing?
That is a fun game. You know how that game is so old, I remember listening to Sugar Ray's cover of Abracadabra while I was playing that game. That's how long that was. They came out right around Superman 64, because I was listening to that album a long time. 16 years ago, Final Fantasy 11 launched. Whoa, stupid. No, wrong.
Wrong.
Final Fantasy 9
Oh, boy.
launched in
really?
Japan.
Is that old?
16 years ago.
No, but when you said 11, I was confused.
They got driver's license now. Isn't that nice?
Final Fantasy 9, a.k.a. the last Final Fantasy game Steve cared about.
Dude, think about it. Final Fantasy 9 is 16 years old. It's getting the driver's license. Final Fantasy 15 has a car.
It all makes sense.
Now, I was thinking, how can it be 15 and it has a car? But 9 is 16. Hold on. I gotta go into my Microsoft Paint and create a spreadsheet that'll make this make sense.
Yeah, a lot of red lines connecting things.
Just put it all together, my friends. Also, 16 years ago, in Japan, the PlayStation 1 was released. The PlayStation 1, not the PlayStation 1. That thing that you could attach that screen to, and it was a really portable version.
The one that you find on Craigslist for $50.
I guess the audio isn't as good. And also the SCART picture isn't quite as good on that one.
Yeah, you know what else the audio isn't good on? Anything that's like hooked up with RCA cables.
Actually, the PlayStation 1 has some of the finest CD technology ever available and is to this day still sought out by audiophiles to play CDs. That's a true story. 20 years ago in Japan, Nights into Dreams was released. I guess you could call that the Saturn's Sonic in a way. That was the mascot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like Nights into Dreams?
It's okay, but it's not great.
Mm.
It's aged as well as a carton of milk, but it's all right. It's fine.
Milk is good for you, so I think Steve is saying go play it. 21 years ago, Mortal Kombat 3 was released in Japan. I played that version. There's nothing like sitting down with a bro, selecting your character, and sitting through 30 seconds of load times before playing a fast-paced fighting game.
Mm-hmm. Nothing better.
It was not the best experience there. 29 years ago, two games that really changed the industry. I'm not kidding around. 29 years ago on the MSX, Metal Gear was released in Japan.
Oh shit.
So that's the stealth genre just being created by a crazy dude who was almost fired by Konami.
Here's a question. Is that MSX version, is that available to play anywhere else?
You can play it on a number of different platforms, including the collection of the Metal Gear 2 and 3.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
And Portable Ops, that's available on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. Because the version of Metal Gear Solid 3 is the subsistence version, which has the MSX versions of 1 and 2 available on there with a English translation that's quite good.
Cool.
I highly recommend that. The NES version was not made by Kojima. No relation. You want to play this. Even if it's an okay game, it's no relation. Also, 29 years ago, we talked about one seminal classic. I keep saying seminal classic over and over again this week. We have to talk about the other, for real, the very first entry in Leisure Suit Larry, with Leisure Suit Larry in the land of the lounge lizards. The sexual point-and-click adventure games. Hey, say what you will.
Nothing I like better than VGA graphic boobs.
That was before Maniac Mansion. I think it set a precedent for what adventure games could be. It was humorous. Give it some credit. I'm being dead serious here. Leisure Suit Larry actually was kind of funny. The very first one.
When was the last time you played Leisure Suit Larry?
Well, what do you mean? When was the last time? You should be asking me when is the first time, because I haven't stopped, baby. I keep going. Dude,
you just have an ongoing game of Leisure Suit Larry. I like that idea.
There's just an Apple II in my room at all times, just waiting to be touched. Here's the thing.
Ew.
The series got very bad. We can all agree. But Leisure Suit Larry initially brought in a number of concepts in a classy way. Sex and comedy into games. Like, the sex was never over the top. They didn't actually show you anything. It was just a goofy game about some weird dude trying to get laid. And I think it deserves some credit into kind of video game humor.
Sure. I think the first couple of games were a lot more self-deprecating. It was almost just like, I don't know, like he was a schlubby, like Woody Allen type of guy.
Yeah.
But obviously the writing wasn't as great. But then it got really bad towards the end.
And lastly, 66 years ago, a company that had nothing to do with video games until the past century, I guess, really. 66 years ago, Bandai was founded. They now own Namco. But Bandai also does a lot of anime stuff, and they have for years, which is the reason why we kind of have the things we have in video games, because Japan was deeply influenced by that. They made some crazy stuff like JRPGs based off of Bandai creations, and Americans, we play those games. We grew up, and now we're making the games that are the most influential. You know, without anime, I think it's fair to say we would never have indie games.
So, you know that Slave game?
Yeah.
What was that called again?
Slave Pageant.
Slave Pageant. Do you think without Bandai, we wouldn't have Slave Pageant?
Bandai, 66 years old.
Bandai, thanks for the Slave Pageant.
Just unfortunate. Very unfortunate. And that's going to have to do it for Strong History. Get in the time machine, bro.
That's the noise your time machine makes?
You know nothing of science. Let's close out the show! Steve, where can people reach you and your fantastic website?
Hey, you can find me on twitter.com. On twitter.com.
I'm on twitter.twitter.com.
Twitter.twitter. No, I'm on Twitter, man. You can find me at Steve Cuff. That's at Steve CUFF. That's at Steve.
See you, friendly face. Continuity.
Yeah, there we go. You can also find all of my fabulous written work and video work and the written and video work of some amazing contributors at optimismvaccine.com. It's, I don't know, it's a really highbrow look at lowbrow culture. That's what we like to do.
It's like an air conditioner for your imagination.
Mm-hmm. Video games, movies, all kinds of different shit, music. And we just like to look at things that are maybe underappreciated, undervalued, and, you know, give them a good hard look. Just like I'm giving Colin a good hard look right now.
Fantastic.
Oh, and get on fucking iTunes. What are you doing? Listen to the OpFatCast. That's our podcast. It's incredible.
All right, well, it's only available on iTunes, so I think that's going to be kind of
Stitcher,
limiting.
TuneIn Radio. Come on, you're listening on iTunes. I know you are.
Are you on Google Play Music?
No, I haven't submitted for that yet.
Let's talk after the show, so we
Okay.
can get you on there. 'Cause
Yeah.
It takes a while. All right, you can follow me on Twitter at Dr. Karate Chop. That's at Dr. Karate Chop. You can also follow the PressureCast at PressureCastPod. I don't even know what's happening this week. Honestly, I have no idea. I think there's a video of Adventures of Mana going up, and after that, I have no idea.
Your house of cards has fallen, Colin.
It's the middle of summer. This is the worst time to actually review games.
Play Gungeon.
I'm probably gonna try and look at a downloadable tile though, while everything's slow. That's the goal right now.
I'm just going to tell you to play Gungeon every week until you play Gungeon.
Well, that's great. You're probably gonna tell me till the day I die, because that's where we're all going. Just marching towards the cliff, falling into the abyss of oblivion. But the PressureCast won't, because the PressureCast marches forever. Bye. PressureCast, weekly video game news podcast, is solely owned and operated by Colin Tanner. Guests of the PressureCast are not employees or freelancers of Colin Tanner, the PressureCast, or VideoGamesAreDumb.com, and are not paid. Music featured on the PressureCast is property of their respective owners, and no infringement is intended. For more information, email pressurecast@gmail.com.